Hey guys, welcome to Fishing with the K's. If you're new to the channel, my name is Johnny, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the baits that I'm going to be using for an upcoming tournament. Now we're going to be visiting Tim Ford Lake, which is just southeast of Nashville in a town called Manchester or Winchester. And just want to talk a little bit about the baits that I plan on using for this tournament and why. So if this is something that you're interested in, stay tuned. Alright, I don't normally fish in tournaments, but decided to fish in this one particular tournament because the guy that runs it is a close friend of mine. Jerry runs the Tim's Ford Bass Club, and really took me under his wings when I got into bass fishing probably 3 years ago. And so he hosts this big classic tournament every year around this time frame, and we should have around 150 to 200 boats with some big payouts. I want to say first place is like $5,000, and it pays all the way down to like 20th place, maybe, don't quote me on that, but I think 20th place pays $175. It also pays for a midday big bass. I want to say that's $1,000, and then end of the day big bass is another $1,000. And then if you have big smallmouth, that's an additional $500. And so really interesting tournament. I've never fished in it, but again, just supporting my buddy Jerry out at the Tim's Ford Bass Club, and got some opportunity to win some money. And you know, again, I don't normally fish in tournaments. This is just a one tournament type deal where you know, it's not a point series, and so my goal is to catch the biggest bag and the biggest bass that I can. And you'll see why I chose the lures that I did based on this strategy. And so won't we start off with the top water? You know, we're launching around 7 a.m. and so I figured by the time I you know, drive out to my spot, idle down, and troll to the area that I want to fish, I figured I'd be fishing from 7:30 to 9:30 and try to take advantage of that top water bite. And so for my top water lures, I'm gonna throw a Strike King buzz bait. This is one that's designed by Andy Montgomery. It's got a really good bait keeper. This toad stays on there really well, and this bait skips really well. Tim's Ford has a lot of docks, and so if I get around some docks and some trees and I need to skip a lure to be snagless, I'm going to use this Strike King buzz bait designed by fishing pro Andy Montgomery. And so that's my first top water bait that I'm going to be using. The second top water bait I'm going to be using is a wake bait. This is called like a Wake Magic. It's a Japanese type bait. It's got a little prop here at the back of it. What I like about this top water lure is I can just throw it out there and then just slow wind on it, and it has a nice walk the dog action, and I don't have to work the rod a whole lot. And with this being a Japanese JDM type bait, I don't think a whole lot of guys are going to be throwing it. The color is awesome, and so I'm basically going to have two different top water lures tied on, this guy and a buzz bait, right? And so I'll use this one when there's a lot of cover and I need to skip it, and I'll use this one a little bit more open water. So I'll probably start off with that with a few casts. If I don't get bit, I'm going to be throwing some big swim baits, and this might not be a big swim bait to you, but I normally throw a small little 3-inch Kitech. And so you know, when you throw a big 6-inch mag draft with a big big hook there that's a 1/4 ounce, you know, this is a big bait for me. And so this lure is pretty awesome because, again, this is another lure that I can skip around the docks, I can throw around trees, and it's pretty snag proof. And so I'm looking forward to throwing this guy a 6-inch mag draft in the morning, you know, in that first 2 hours, to see if I can get a big bite. And so I'm going to switch up between this one and this other big swim bait here. And so I decided to go with a hard bait also that had treble hooks, and I'll use this one a little bit more open water, and I'll use this one when there's a little bit more cover and I'm worried about getting snagged up. And so I'm going to switch it up between these two big baits here early in the morning. And then I'm also going to be using some traditional baits. Well, I say traditional, maybe traditional techniques. you know, one of those is a jig. This time of year, again, just going for the big bite. This is a missile bait, mini flip jig. I think this is a 1/2 ounce with the bruiser there. And so if I want to fish some vertical structure, if I'm around rock and I just want to make some pitches, I'm gonna throw this guy. And then if the bite is really tough, again, for that first 2 hours, I'm gonna Texas rig this Japanese bait. It looks a little different. You know, again, this is gonna be a big field, probably 150 to 200 boats. So I doubt many people are gonna be throwing a Japanese bait, creature bait that looks like this. And again, the color on this one is pretty awesome. I almost feel like it's like a little mini brush hog. And so I'll Texas rig this on like a 1/8 ounce weight or 3/16, depending on the depth that I'm fishing. I plan on fishing 10 feet or less that first 2 hours. But this is something I picked up at the Bassmaster Classic, and I don't think a whole lot of guys are gonna be throwing it. So again, gonna try to do something different with so many people out there. Another different bait is this other Japanese bait. It's called a flip gill. This one's a 3.6 bluegill color, and the way I'm gonna fish this guy is I'm gonna put it on a like a hover shot hook, which is a weighted hook. Fairly new technique or new tackle that recently came out. I'll do a additional video on that. I guarantee not a whole lot of people is gonna be throwing this, and I want to throw something different, and I want to throw something that's gonna get me a big bite. And so we'll see how this guy turns out. And then lastly, in the morning time, the last bait I plan on throwing is this guy. It's almost it's called a 3-inch flip down. Almost like looks like a little turd, so it's like a big Cinco. But not a whole lot of action. This is what it looks like. Nothing fancy, but again, trying to go for a different profile, do something a little different from everyone else. So we'll see how these baits do. If they do well, I'll do a follow-up video and kind of talk a little bit more about the technique and why I chose this lure and why I chose to use it when I did. I will probably have about 8 rods on the deck in the morning, trying to cover the different water columns. And again, I'm gonna fish these lures and these techniques probably for that first 2 hours, so from 7:30 to 9:30. This tournament ends at 3 o'clock, so why don't we talk about the mid-afternoon baits that I plan on using. All right, mid-afternoon, or actually it's probably mid-morning. I plan on fishing these lures from 10 to 12 o'clock or so if the shallow bite isn't working. Again, sticking with big baits and different baits, as there's gonna be a lot of boats out there. The first item first lure I plan on throwing to cover some water is this big old crankbait by 6 cents. I think this is the C20. This guy will dive down to 18 to 20 feet, I believe. And so this is a big plug. Probably gonna crank this around main lake points when I'm fishing that 15 to 20 foot range. If I'll throw this guy around. If it doesn't get bit, I'm gonna go with a little bit more shad color. This one, I believe, is a C15. It's a little bit smaller bait. Doesn't dive as deep, but I think it'll still go down to 17 feet. So maybe 14 to 17 feet. I'm gonna be throwing this guy. It's real pretty. Also made by 6 cents. More of that shad color, big profile to catch those big bites out towards the main lake. So when I first get to those points, I'm gonna cast those lures and try to cover some water. If I need to slow it down a little bit, I'm gonna go with this bad boy. This is an 8-inch mag draft. This one has a treble hook on the bottom, where my other one had a big single hook. I'm gonna be throwing this one out in big open water. This guy weighs 3 ounces. Again, 8-inch lure, going for those big bites. I'm gonna slowly throw this thing out there and slowly curl it on the bottom, and hope I get a big largemouth or smallmouth with this 8-inch mag draft. And then more traditional lures. These are a little different with color wise, because these are custom painted baits, or this one, at least my DT is. This is a DT20. So we'll dive down to 20 feet. Got a little bit of red hook on there, upgraded the trebles, custom paint job by a local guy here. I'm sure some guys will be throwing a DT20, but again, I'm hoping this one sets it apart because it's a custom color. Being that this one's a custom color, so we'll see if I catch something on this one or more of the 6 cents traditional color. And then another lure that I have caught a lot of good sized bass with over the years is a Spro rock crawler. This guy seems so much smaller compared to some of these bigger plugs, but this one will still get down to 15 feet or so depending on the line that you're using. This one has a really wide erratic action, so this is what it sets it apart from the other crankbaits that I'm throwing. You know, this one's real tight. I haven't thrown the 6 cents, so I don't know how they react in the water, but I would think they have a little bit of a wobble to them, not as smooth as a DT. And so talked a little bit about the treble hook baits that I'm gonna be using midday. Let me show you some of these other lures that I also plan on using if the bite gets tough and I need to slow down and drag something on the bottom. First item up is the flip gill. This is a 5-inch flip gill, similar to the other one that I showed you earlier that I'm going to be throwing shallow. I think that other one's 3.6 inches. This one's a 5-inch. I put it on a swing head. I think this is a 3/8. Plan on chugging this out there between 12, 16 foot of water and just doing a slow wind, creeping this thing on the bottom. Again, looks totally different. Probably not a whole lot of people throwing this. And then lastly, the good old ball and chain. If I really need to slow down and drag something along, I'm gonna throw this missile bait, creature bait. This is a destroyer and a green pumpkin. This is the full-size destroyer. They make a smaller finesse one. But again, going for those big bites. Felt like I've said that multiple times, so you can kind of see my theme here. If I don't catch anything, then you know why, because I'm putting all my eggs in one basket and throwing these big baits. And so again, similar to the shallow water bite, if I get on a good bite, catch a good fish, I'll talk a little bit more about these lures in a future video. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about my back to my shallow water bite. You know, my last 2 or 3 hours in a day, I'm going to be going back towards those pockets and fish some docks, and I want to show you what I'm going to be using to fish there. Well, all right, if you're still with me, thank you for watching. If you're enjoying the content, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and subscribe. And let's get into the third set of baits that I plan on using the back half of my day at the end of this tournament. So first item up is just a traditional spinner bait. I know a lot of guys are gonna be throwing a spinner bait, but I figured I'd be able to cover a lot of water with this one. This is made by Berkeley. 3/8 ounce. It's got a little swim bait on there. So I'm gonna be throwing a spinner bait. I'm also gonna be throwing a little square bill. This one is made by Rapala. This guy dives down about 5 feet. I recently caught my PB on this not too long ago. I think it weighed 6.8 ounces. 6 pounds, 8 ounces out on Old Hickory Lake. And so I can cover a lot of water with this guy. And then if they want something a little bit tighter action, I have caught a lot of fish on a Rapala DT6. Again, this bait has a fairly tight action compared to other crankbaits, and I have a lot of confidence with this guy. And then lastly, for my hard baits, I plan on throwing OG6 Slim, tighter wobble, not a square bill, but a little bit different color. Again, plan on having about 8 rods on the deck, which if you're watching this video, you're probably like, Johnny, you don't need that many rods on the deck or different lures, but I have the rods, I have the lures, trying to win some money, and so I got room on the deck. I'm gonna have as many tools on there as possible until I get on a pattern, and maybe I can kind of narrow it down. But that's what I plan on throwing at Thames Ford Lake. It's going to be April 1st. Water temperature should be high 50s, low 60s. We should be in pre-spawn, spawn mode, and it's going to be interesting. Haven't fished Thames Ford in a while, and the times that I did fish it, only fished it a handful of times. And this time I'm going to be a boater fishing out there. And so if you made it this far, thank you. Stay tuned for the next video to see how I do. And again, I'll talk about these baits in future videos if I can catch something. Thanks guys, talk to y'all soon. Bye.